Welcome back, everybody, to me being pissed off with the wheel of fucking time. And we're almost done with the works of Robert Jordan, because this is the penultimate me rambling about Knife of Dreams. And after that, it's on to the pastures of the mighty Brandon Sanderson. Will he actually be better? We will find out next week. Until then, I'll just be more pissed off about Knife of Dreams, and today we got lots of things to be pissed off about. Isn't that fun? Yes, it is. Wonder what? Well, we're talking about chapters 22 to 28, I think. Maybe 29, I'm not quite sure. I'm confused there. I think 28. The last one we're talking is the one called Within Malden. Something like that. That's the stuff we'll talk about today, so let's go! Well, cheers. Now, yeah, before I forget it, there's still that poll running whether I should start a Discord server for us all to hang out and whatnot or not. I'm still waiting for your answers. Please help me out, because I'm bad at deciding stuff. And now, Wheel of Time. So, what do we have? Lots of action, but still lots of things to be annoyed about. There being a chapter about the sea folk that might or might not be necessary. I think it's not, but we'll, And then there is, Rand going to his meeting with supposedly the Daughter of the Nine Moons, which is, of course, Semirog. And things happening there. And Matt going to war again, because we haven't seen Matt doing war things for a long time, so that's pretty neat. And boring shit going down in the White Tower, but at this point boring shit is at least not annoying, so there's that. Isn't that fun? What else? Yeah, a bit of like Perrin and Fael stuff that we'll also talk about in the course of these things. Alright, let's start with the first and really annoying bit. Chapter 22, To Make an Anchor Weep. Basically, it's from the perspective of one of the sea folk people. We get our usual dose of spanking, because there can't be a chapter without women getting spanked in these fucking books at this point. They're hanging out, waiting for Logain, or waiting for a messenger from the Dragon Reborn to show up, and it is Logain, and then they'll get a message about mass suicide, because that's like the kind of thing we haven't had yet, which I guess, yeah, time to do that, isn't it? What am I talking about? So while they're hanging around, Logain is like, alright, you guys need to do your job for the Coromor, which is ferry food to some place, I guess in Aradamon, but I'm not quite sure. Because who cares about that map, really, and those places, because we haven't been there yet, right? Anyway, you have to carry food there because people are starving, which reasonableness, demand mostly. What happens then is, like, another captain shows up and tells them the story that all the Amayar have killed themselves. Is it a direct reference to certain things happening in Jonestown? Is it Jonestown in Guyana? That place? Possibly? Does it remind me of the whole let's drink the Kool-Aid situation? Hell yes it does. Is it necessary? Not at fucking all. And this is where we need to talk about, right? So, what's going on with the Amayar? If you're asking yourself, who the fuck are the Amayar? Yes, I asked myself the same, and then I looked it up, and then I realized that I read about it. It's a completely irrelevant detail. So what happens is the Amayar are people that live on this one island or a couple of islands somewhere and are apparently connected to the sea folk. And we had one scene with one of them seeing the great, like the female Terangreal, no, it's an Sangreal thing, during the cleansing of Sidar. Sidar? No, Sidene, of course. During the cleansing of Sidene, right? After that cleansing, we had like all these jumps around where people were watching crazy things happening, and one was about an Amayar, I think that's the name, seeing that whole thing melting and realizing that the time of dreams, or whatever it was called, was over. That's the only time we ever hear about these people. So, to simulate consequences, to simulate consequences for actions. What we do is we mass murder an entire people, or let an entire people commit suicide that no one fucking cares about. Right? I went and I looked it up in the Wheel of Time wiki because I do take my job here seriously, right? So I do research, and turns out all the detail on the MIR is all in that fucking world book, the world of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. It's not in the fucking book. No one cares about those people. So we can just, kill them somewhere off. Some people somewhere in the middle of nowhere can just be slaughtered. And that's it. For nothing. And this is I'm already angry again, right? So here's the point: is we have that thing happening there, and it doesn't matter for the story. The entire chapter is there to talk about women having, still hurting asses because someone whipped them and all of that. A bit of humiliation, female humiliation, which is obviously important for these books. And then we hear about mass murder, and that's it. Thank you. Also, mass suicide for religious beliefs. Maybe not a topic to just handle that way. Just maybe, it's not exactly cool. It's never been cool. And maybe if you want to deal with that kind of topic, maybe just, treat it with respect. But we have our Grandmaster, Lord and Savior, Robert fucking Jordan, and he doesn't do that kind of thing. No, he just drops it and then it's well, it will never be mentioned again either. It's just... Any, halfway decent editor would just, kick Robert Jordan's ass for that kind of chapter and just, cut it out of the book. But we get that thing. We have to look at it. And here's the darker side to that, right? The darker side is that it, as I said, it simulates consequences. Even Rand's wonderful work and job of... cleansing sardine has darker consequences, which, that's, in general, that's a good idea. But we can't commit to that kind of thing because Rand is our glorious leader and hero, so we can't do that. So we have to push the consequences somewhere to the edge of the world where no one will care about it and have some local indigenous population do it. So... there's two problems. There's one of the narrative problem of using someone no one cares about, and then making it an indigenous population somewhere on an island. I mean, yes, I know they're not technically indigenous because they got, brought there by the sea folk, apparently. It's still the same kind of thing. For, the good deeds of white saviors, it's always the people of color somewhere in the ascent of nowhere that have to suffer, and then no one cares about. And that's just... It's fucked up and it's unnecessary. See, that's the problem. It's unnecessary for the story. It could have just cut out the entire chapter and nothing would have been lost. Nothing at all. Literally nothing. Because of course, he gives that command to the sea folk. The sea folk might actually do it, I guess so. But just whenever, drop it at a hint. Logain coming back, it's I spoke to the sea folk. They agreed to your demands or whatever. Fine, it's 2 lines. You get your story point across. Drop the rest. It just is disrespectful and borderline racist, is what it is, and shitty writing. So, we're back in, it's good that, near the end of his career, Robert Jordan is still at his best, or, really, in full swing there. Alright, let's look at the next annoying bit. Chapter 23, they're really one hit after the other in this one, really. It's insane, right? So, chapter 23. Something, a sitting? Something like that? Whatever. Call to a sitting? Whatever. So, it's in the camp outside, the rebel camp outside Tarvalon, and they're called to a sitting. First, we get some, random unnecessary bits about Romanda, one of the older Aes Sedai, one of the stricter Aes Sedai, secretly reading romance and adventure books, which apparently is really embarrassing. And we've spoken about the fucking stupid idea that reading fantasy or that kind of stuff is not proper literature or whatever. I've spoken about it in lots of ways, and having it sort of almost reinforced in here to either make fun of the person or make fun of the form of literature is kind of stupid, but not exactly a big deal right now. So what happens is they show up, they do their like sitting, and one of the Aes Sedai with Rand, whose name I have forgotten because who fucking cares? There's an A in her name though, like always. Shows up, the one that bonded Narishma, who's one of the Ashaman who has an A in his name, and also who cares about the guy. Anyway, shows up, has apparently showed up, and Narishma brings the offer. From Rand that the Aes Sedai that are loyal to Egwene get to bond 47 Ashaman to equal out the 51 that got bonded by the like Aes Sedai that got bonded by Ashaman from the Black Tower. So yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and that is fun. And now we come to the stupid things here. Like, oh, right. And then he also mentions that tells the tale from, like, the ending of Winter's Heart, where, Arangar, always confuse Asangar and Arangar, where Arangar, Halima, showed up and killed, was it Hopwell? I think it was Hopwell. Who cares? One of the other, Ashaman, who realized when they found out that there is a woman that can actually use dick magic. And then someone finally puts it all together, and they go out, and of course Halima and Dalana, the other one, have fled. So what's the problem here? The problem is once again one of male and female agency, and I will come back to at the end of this rant, okay? So, you remember that both sides, the female, the guys in the girls in the tower, the Red Aja in the tower, and, everyone in the rebels camp has thought about, like, making these deals with bonding Ashaman because for all kinds of reasons, circle building and all this other stuff, right? You remember that? Right, that's female agency. So what happens is, they can't decide how to do it until the dudes show up and say like, hey, this is our offer, and then everyone's like, all right, let's do it. So once again, it's not women that get to do something, it's men that actually get to do it. It's male agency that actually, forwards the plot here, and that's stupid and fucked up. And then we have the same thing with Narishma, right? Narishma, the man, shows up and tells him that there is a woman that can actually channel dick magic, and that's the first time they start to, suspect Halima. So even there, when we come to that really disgusting plot line about Halima / Arangar, even there, it's a man who saves the women with the vital piece of information. And that is a pattern that we have seen through the entire fucking series of books. It's always men that save women. Women can't get shit done on their own. And I've said it so many times. It just keeps happening. And it's like, why? Why? And I mean, yeah, there's an answer why. That answer is, however, very, very unflattering towards our good Bobby J. Yeah, it's fucking sexism is what it is. And yeah, it just annoys me to no fucking end. So yeah, that's all we got there. What else do we get? A very long and not exactly interesting chapter about female humiliation, which we've heard about before, right? So what we get is, and apart from all the spanking, it's actually a solid chapter. So what's happening is, Egwene, I keep confusing those now. Like, Egwene's in the tower, she's now back to being a novice, and she has to basically, work her way up through the tower in, like, rapid, quick, as a speed run, basically. And she, at the beginning, everyone is just, treating her like shit. She gets to get spanked every day. Part of that is because she doesn't, want to give in her, like, dignity and whatnot. So we spend, like, in audiobook, 1.5 hours, 92 minutes, with her wandering around the tower, being treated like shit with everyone, telling people, trying to use her, knowledge and her dignity and her power, a natural authority as the true Amyrlin seat, to kind of sow more dissension and whatnot, to undermine Elida from within. And, that's as a plot line, that's fairly solid. Now, if you cut out all the spanking stuff, which is really getting like annoying on this, but it's like literally, there's like at least 10 mentions of how her ass hurts and she can't properly sit down and does it anyway in that one chapter. It's like, what the fuck am I reading here? But apart from that, the idea is fairly solid. We see Alviarn trying to, lure Egwene to the dark side, supposedly. Something like that, and her slowly convincing people that she is the true Amyrlin, because true authority and true power will always shine through, and people will come over to that at the end, which is something that we've spoken about before. Not something that I personally agree with, but there we are. Apart from that, it is, however, a fairly solid chapter because there's something of a plot there. Someone has a goal and is actually actively working towards a goal and not just, wandering around, that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's that. Pretty good, isn't it? All right. What else now? A weird... Oh, right, that's the next big thing. In these chapters, both the one with Egwene and the first half of the next one is Attending Elida, which is only for, like, the first third about Elida, and then it's all about Matt and, what's her name? Tuan and people. But for that time, we suddenly hear all about pillow friends. We need to talk about the pillow friends now. Because pillow friends are, and you need to be strong now, even though you are fans of the Wheel of Time and a truly monogamous heterosexual marriage and the classic family model, right? Apart from Rand, of course. But the point is, pillow friends is when Aes Sedai novices, and sometimes even accepted, actually have sex. Yes, it's not mentioned that explicitly, but that's what it is. And it's also made very clear that it's not true love. It cannot be love. It's all just, play of teens before they become actually adults and understand how that shit works. It's denigrated, and Robert Jordan can't even, bring himself to acknowledge the fact that homosexual love can exist. No, it's all just fooling around by bored kids that try to overcome the harsh discipline and all the grief of being accepted or novices in this torture chamber that is the White Tower. That's the only reason women would ever sleep with each other. Because remember, that's also what happened with that only other time we had pillow friends, which was earlier on that Windfinder and that one Kyrian noble that were then abducted, which is an important aspect here, abducted by Cadsuane, right? That's the only time homosexual interactions will happen. They will not be about love. They will always be out of despair or boredom by people who are not yet fully grown-up adults and have understood that heterosexual monogamous marriage followed by children is the only way that sexuality can happen in these books. And I'm fucking pissed off by that as well. Because, it's unnecessary. Look, if you don't want to talk about, like, homosexuality or any LGBTQ things in your books, that is your prerogative. I don't even blame you for it. The problem is that if you decide to put it in, do yourself the favor of fucking no. Be like fucking okay about it. Like, don't just like denigrate it in every mention, because at that point it becomes homophobic and it's no longer just, oh, I didn't think about it because I'm very straight person or whatever. It's more like, I know it exists, but I'll make sure you understand that it's wrong. Sucks. It really fucking sucks. And I'm pissed off by it. I mean, come on. Why? Really? Anyway, we'll see where that all of that will go, but you call it pillow friends, and then, hint at the fact that it's only happening out of desperation or boredom from people that are not yet fully, adult and understand how love actually functions. And no, that shit's valid, for fuck's sake. And we're talking about a book written in 2004, 2005. It's not like this is, the olden days or whatever. No, we've had like proper like gay relationships in fantasy, even in conservative circles. We've had that stuff long before, but now Robert Jordan has to look down on it, and I'm pissed off by it. All right, there we go with another like really annoying bit of, of Wheel of Time, because this one really just like these chapters right now are like one after the other, man. It's so fucking frustrating. All right. Following that whole process, we come to Matt and Tuon. They're now on their way with Aludra and all those other people through the forest to flee all the whole trap set for Tuon by Suroth and get over into Andor, I assume. When, Matt does something that's still kind of weird to understand, but whatever. And Tuon then asks him to kiss her for the first time, which he does, and she's blown away by his, abilities to kiss. Which, maybe it's true. Who knows? Fine so far, but what happens then is, that the horse thief dude that gets mentioned every single time he shows up, how he sits at the horse like a fat sack of suet, and look. I will not call it fat shaming. I'm just like, I'll call it shitty prose, because it seems like the same fucking sentence showing up in every situation Venom gets to sit on a horse. Every single bloody time. And that's unnecessary. Just drop it, for fuck's sake. Alright, so there we are with that bit. But he shows up with Talmanas, and for reasons that are not fully explained, at least a large part of the band of the Red Hand is now in Altara with Talmanas, and the rest is on the other side somewhere after that whole fuckery that they did with the King of Murundi, which I guess, gave them a lot of money, and all of that's fine. Don't worry, that part is all solid. And they can't get back, though, because the pass they went through, and that Matt wanted to go through, that, Smuggler's Pass, actually, got killed by a landslide. So they need to do something else. What's the something else? Well, Matt goes to war. And this is where we see the next of these, like, really fucked up patterns come back. What do I mean? Why, we get Tuon's perspective again, which is once again filled with omens and superstition, which is obviously important to understand because, we've spoken about the fact that all those, Shanchan out there have to be superstitious and all of that stuff. We spoke about that yesterday. So, it's still there, though. But what happens is that she, who tried to play with Matt and look down on Matt for all his, foolery and whatnot, suddenly Tuon is impressed by Matt, who is actually not funny at all, but a real lion, out in the wild now, showing his skills as a commander, and you can almost read her getting wet at that point. It's like, and here's the other thing is, like, Robert Jordan's stories have supposedly strong women, and as soon as a dude shows some sort of strength there, or like ultra masculinity, right? As soon as they show ultra masculinity, the women just melt into their arms every single fucking time. What bullshit. I mean, the actual war stuff then is pretty solid. Matt has some sort of plan, annoy the Shanchan so far that they take their army out of the other pass that he can take and then just ride through. Makes a lot of sense. We get like a combat, full-on, combat chapter where they lay some sort of ambush and just flat out murder like a couple of thousand people, which, happens with surprising frequency at this point, that people are just like massacred all the time. But I guess, war's coming closer, whatever. We'll see. Just wanted to point out that pattern is also there. And we'll see where all of that will go with Tuon and Matt. At the end of the day, it'll be Matt who's in charge, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, let's look at the last one, and then I'll be done for today. Done with grumbling and ranting. Fail and Perrin. I think that's the last thing we need to talk about. Oh no, fuck, I almost forgot about Rand. See how fucking unimportant the dude is? Alright, let's first talk about Rand. So Rand goes to that meeting with the Daughter of the Nine Moons. She turns out to be Semirog, as I guessed. There's a big battle. Rand loses his left hand. So, well, I guess he'll have to... Oh, he doesn't need his right hand for that either. So I guess he's good. He gets, he loses his left hand. Semirog and all the others get like captured. And that's about it. It's not exactly fun. I was sort of right when I called it yesterday. He did not get captured. They caught Semirog first, but they found a box full of those mail items, those mail control bracelets and shit. That part I was right. They just didn't even get to use it. So yeah, there's that. They send back all the other, like, Suldam and Damani. They send them back to Ebudar so they can spread rumors or something. I don't know. The plan, I guess, is to still find a way to actually make a deal with the Shanchan, which so far will not happen. Because for that to happen, I guess Matt and the true Daughter of the Nine Moons needs to actually meet with Rand at some point. We'll see. Oh well, there we go. It's not exactly a really interesting chapter because, a bit of a magic battle was over really quickly, and there we are. Not fun at all. So let's look at the Perrin bit, right? Because, the Rand bit is not interesting. Seriously. No one needs Rand in these books. So let's look at the Perrin and Fael bit, and then we'll be done for today. Perrin and Fael. Perrin has this plan. They take all the fork roots that they found, pull it into like the aqueduct, and let it flow into town, where all the wise ones will drink it and will be conked out. So they can just march in. And, I don't know, I guess kill all the Aiel and take or free all the prisoners, or at least free Fael and maybe the others. And that's the plan. Obviously, our favorite stalker, Talonvor, still gets to go in to get Magdon, which is Morghese, but whatever. And we've spoken about how toxic that idea is for so many times. I don't want to, bring it up again. If I bring it up again, I'll bring it up in like a general summary of why these books are so fucked up. Yeah, that's the bit. They do all of that, and then go back. There's like news, like, the Perrin learns from the what's her name, Banner General of the Shanchan, that are his allies at this point, learned about the defection of Gallard and the White Cloaks, and learns about some more groups of Aiel coming close, which may be Shido or other Aiel, who knows at this point. And then we kind of know that's the same moment that was basically in the last Fael chapter, when everything wavers and like 3 times the world wavers and feels almost like, is insubstantial and whatnot. Is that when those last 3 seals break? Maybe. Maybe not. We don't know yet. It's just, a sign that all of that stuff is coming closer. Right. And then we, switch to Fael, and Fael is trying to flee. They move into that place, into a trap that Galena has set for them, and they get trapped down there. And that's once again, it really pisses me off, because once again, it is a woman's plan to escape is flawed, and they are trapped in a building. So, will they get out of there without male help? I doubt it. And it's, once again, the same fucking patterns. Like, women can't get anything done in these books. It's always men who have to do the work. And that fucking annoys me to no end. So we'll see how the actual escape or whatever will happen next chapter, which I'll be talking about tomorrow. So there we are. Before I'll leave you for today, though, one final note on some big inconsistency in the world. We've spoken about the fact that suddenly people pray to the creator and shit, which I still don't get, but you know. And now we come to fact, right? Everything is about, like, rebirth, right? Like, the Wheel of Time, you get reborn and all of that. But suddenly, there's all those dead walking around all the time, like, sometimes centuries old dead. How does that work? I thought they had been reborn again, so why can't there be, like, entire towns with people like, popping up again? How does that work? I thought they had been reborn. Are they like, do people multiply and, you know, the dead stay dead but get also reborn? How does that work? I would like to have explanations for that in some way or other. Although, I guess it will not happen. Well, more fool me. Anyway, that's like all the annoyances for today. We got us a mass suicide of an indigenous people somewhere at the arse end of nowhere, because that's the only way we can come to simulate consequences, because we will not have our heroes be, you know, actually dark or anything. We got another one of those men have to solve every single fucking problem. Plus, we get us this lovely way of looking down on queer relationships, because we can't just leave things alone. We have to show that we don't like that shit. Wonderful, isn't it? So, near the end of his career as a writer, Robert Jordan is pumping on all fucking cylinders to make this really offensive in a lot of ways. Wonderful. Tomorrow we'll wrap the whole thing up. I hope you'll stick with me, and then we'll find out what Sanderson does next week. Yeah, have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.